Greetings, Earthlings. Bill Overton here with January 17th or 18th, maybe 19th, 2023 Huns Oldcast. I'm so old, I don't even remember what day it is. After a myriad of technical problems solved by Andrew Heller, our IT department, I'm here with Luis Sanchez. Weezy, how are you?
Doing all right, my friend. How are you? Happy New Year.
Good.
All that noise.
Good, man. It's good to have you sitting under our brand new social structure. It's been a hell of a last few months, man. You've been busy. Tell us about the work you're doing out at the fields.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy and pretty awesome at the same time. We started with this a few months ago. Started on, I guess, paper and just whatnot. And here we are. I don't know how long it took us, maybe 3 months or so, and got it up, erected, and now we're, socializing underneath it. It's been great. Yeah.
Well, what was interesting to me about it is it pretty much covered all aspects of the entire club, didn't it? We had old boys donating some money.
100%. Yeah, it's been awesome.
We had you leading the way. We had young kids out there working, old guys out there working.
Yeah, you've got youth, you've got the Valkyries out here. This past weekend, we had St. Ed's out here. They had a good about 8-10 guys show up here and help out with tearing down some of the bleachers and stuff. And, it's been amazing how the community's come together and done all this. Some of the youth coaches, one of the youth coaches saw us out here doing stuff, came over, said, "Hey man, what do you need? In terms of equipment and such." He went and rented some stuff here. We had it here for weeks that helped us erect and get up and down and stuff like that. And, no questions asked. So it's been wonderful.
The Huns have always had a big tent philosophy. This was a big tent program. Is it true you've named the shed the Big Tent?
That's the one,
That is so freaking awesome. And there's more to come, right? You're building a bar. You're going to build a trophy case that'll dry in that east side a little bit.
Correct.
You got plans, right?
Yeah. There's quite a bit left. The backside, the lean-to area is about 50 by 12 or 14 or so. Obviously we'd like to get some concrete down and utilities under, through it and stubbed out and this and that, some of the walls in the back will have perhaps a trophy wall. There will definitely be a donor wall, Hall of Fame wall, and whatnot. And, obviously the kitchen and the bar area will be underneath that as well. So, lots to ways to go still, but, we'll get there.
By the way, this episode of the Huns Oldcast is brought to you by 512 Solar. See JP Novak or Austin Shotgun Willie Willis for all your solar needs. He's been a sponsor of our club for several years, just made a really nice donation, a sponsorship donation on top of it. Thank you very much, JP. Weezy, you've been with the club probably 25 years at least, right?
Just about, yeah. I believe somewhere around there, yeah.
Fly half when you didn't look like a prop.
Correct.
So you've been a player. You're probably a captain somewhere along the way. You played on our undefeated team, led our undefeated team, I'm sure.
Yeah, a few playoff appearances. Yep.
You've been a director of rugby. Now you're our field coordinator trying to help us improve this beautiful land facility we have. I mean, you've done almost everything in the club. I mean, tell us a little bit about, your experience with the Huns and, what all that we're doing right now, trip to Argentina, the 50th reunion, building this structure, what all this means to you.
Well, we talk about this shade structure and, alongside it, there's been so much done in this last year with the bleachers, just last year we purchased all the bleachers, which is something we're still working on. We hope to wrap that up soon. Just recently, Justin Pigeon donated some money to get these goalposts right behind me on field 2 as well, which changes everything out here.
So now we have real regulation rugby posts on both fields.
Both pitches, yeah. And then, alongside with the Valkyries, we built a Chudder number 2, which has been quite nice, especially for, it's a nicer than porta potties and whatnot. And, it's also saving us some money
it's a compost outhouse, right?
Correct.
I mean, for people that don't get the joke, it's the Valkyries wanted a reasonable place for ladies to go to the bathroom, and good for them.
And it serves all the youth parents and whatnot and this and that. It's been great. And it's pretty fancy in there if you haven't been in there. But back to your
I have not been in there. I pee under a tree. I hate to say, when I'm out at Nixon Lane, but from a culture standpoint, one of the things that I know you and Hansel and I talked about a lot in 2018, when we were kind of retooling after a bit of a hiccup. We won a national championship. There was a bit of a hiccup and we started retooling. Culture is a big part of what we've tried to focus on and build. And to me, what you're doing at the fields and what you're doing with this structure really fit into that, don't you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all about, big saying is leave it better than the way you found it, and we'd like to have everybody put into that, and to whatever that means to them. And it shows that a lot of people actually care, the like you said, we've got old boys coming out to help in every other aspect of our community, which is awesome. And and everybody's doing their part, which is great, and obviously it already, this big tent here has a different feel to this whole property. It was so great. One of my favorite things about this structure is we were a week or so from our first cup match against the Blacks in December, and we were doing the roof on one part of the structure, and we knew we were not going to get it done by Blacks weekend. And the boys that were on top that day, they made a pact to not get down until they finished that section of roof, which was the whole, I guess, east side of it. And then, so it was okay, awesome. So we had a late Sunday that day. After they came down, all of a sudden the chat started with, unfortunately, we're not going to finish this by this weekend, by our first cup match. Well, immediately the boys just all kind of looked at each other and said, hey, let's knock it out on Friday. It's like, all right, what does that mean? It's like, everybody just kind of stared at each other. It's like, hey, let's do it. People took half day off on Friday, showed up, and at 5:30 in the afternoon, everybody came down from the roof. We're having lunch underneath. We're having dinner underneath this awesome place. So, that was really good to see the drive of that group. I call them my roofers, to, suck it up and say, let's get this done. And it was amazing.
I also want to thank you. Talk about old boys coming out to work, and that has improved, but old boys have really stepped up with checkbooks this year, big donations for the land. We've created a new sustaining donor program, 2 levels, the first 15, a minimum $5,000 donation, and then $100 a month for the future. If that's a little steep for you, the second level is the Horde, $1,000 up front, and a $50 a month sustaining donation. We've had a number of guys step up and already close that out and are paying, and we got some other guys that have pledged to do that. And then, you know what, if that's too much or you just don't want to do that, you can be a $150 social member every year. And to see that money come in to allow us to, buy these materials and then have you use Huns labor has been a real Incredible team effort. Thank you to everybody that's donated this year, prior years. We appreciate it. Another quick thing I want to say, Weezy, show us the logo on your Hawaiian shirt. You got to lift it up a little bit so we can see it. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I guess this right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
You know, these are pretty sweet.
Weezy has a Huns hat on. I've got my blue and white Huns hat on. I wore my snapback hat. He's got his Hawaiian shirt, which is for our 50th anniversary. I've got the 50th anniversary new logo. Same colors, slightly different stripes set up. This is the jersey they wore in Argentina. Guys, there's an awful lot of Huns merchandise you can buy when you come out to the fields. I think some is even available still online. I'm not 100% sure of that, but another way to support the club.
Are you not wearing your budgie smugglers?
No comment. I was really relieved. That Heller didn't put a picture of that in his synopsis of the 50th. My wife would have seen it sooner or later, been pissed at me. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to support the club.
You know, Weezy, back to one more thing to add to the whole donor stuff and this and that. Also, you know, I'm sure it's been posted probably enough. You know, one of the biggest things as well to help out is come on out here on Sundays. These work parties they've done, this is what's been happening, you know, and come on out. 10 to 2 is what we aim for, and it's been great. You know, there's tons and tons of stuff. You're not skilled, that's okay. Let's
talk about this for a minute, because that's a really important point. Huns labor built both fields.
Yep.
Guys were out there laboring for months to build both fields, and pretty much everybody agrees that that's the best pitch in the state. I guess the stadium field and
the second best pitch is right behind me.
Well, the rugby HTX stadium pitch is probably pretty good, but that was big money and professionals did that. We did this ourselves. So that's number one. Number two, there was a rift in the club, and for a while it looked like we might end up in a legal fight over the fields to get them back. And a really kind and benevolent benefactor, Chris Bouguet, stepped in and made it right. And we now own the fields. Thank you, Chris. So now step two. A lot of guys thought their legacy had been taken away from them. Now it's returned. They're coming back out and working on the field. Disputes with the old foundation have been resolved, and those fences have been mended. And the money that was donated to the foundation is going to be coming back into the club. And now you got young kids also coming out with the old boys and working on the field. So there are a couple of generations of this that have really come together. Wouldn't you agree that that's kind of a cool aspect of this?
100%. 100%. I mean, it's happening, you know.
You know, I want to digress a bit. You led the Huns on the undefeated season, the legendary undefeated season. I think we were D2. We won the TRU that year, right?
Correct. I believe it was 2004.
Just talk to me a little bit about what that season was like. Kirk was the coach, I assume, and that had to be just an incredible year and an incredible feeling.
Oh, it was, especially, you know, I think back then we had probably 8 cup matches, and I believe our travel was, you know, we had to play Shreveport and Baton Rouge, you know, so you're talking about, you know, at a time where we were such a small club, and, you know, as you guys were, probably everything is self-funded, right? You know, you know, making these trips to 8-hour trips to Baton Rouge, 8-hour trips to Shreveport and whatnot, and then come nationals. And I believe we went to those years. I can't remember which year took us to either South Carolina or Providence, Rhode Island. But, you know, that game in the end, which we were in Baton Rouge, and, you know, it was amazing. I believe we chartered a bus and filled it up, 52 people. And then we had a caravan of cars following us over there as well. So, Saturday morning we pull up and there's 52 people getting off this bus, our caravan showing up with us. We've got amazing sideline and fans along with us. People have seen that photo. I mean, there's easily over 50 people in that photo back from 2004. Also, just one of the biggest things after that, very hard to keep Kirk quiet. And I mean, he was speechless after that. We had a 5-meter scrum on our end, obviously, and final play, and made it work. Down the field, that ball must have gone 5, 6, 7, 8 passes, something like that.
Last play try.
Tom Kinney, TK, not an easy kick. He was a good, maybe 15, 20 from center. Nailed it. We're all just kind of holding our breath there as his approach and whatnot, and boom, there it was. Finished.
What's amazing to me, man? Like, we had a couple of trips like that to the playoffs and stuff when I played, and I'm listening to you tell this story, and I can hear the passion in your voice like it was yesterday, and it makes me feel just like I felt when I played. And we get all caught up in D1 and the national championship and wins and losses and all this shit, and the reality is the Huns have done well for a long time. And we try to do it the right way. Again, I'm going to get back to culture that you, Hansel, Adam, myself, Matt talked about a lot in 18. Yeah, let's get back to being competitive, but let's go back to our values and do it the right way. Community culture rugby. And that's what that story means to me, what you just said. That's just a beautiful story.
Yeah. And that was also one of those things back, when I joined, what was it? I guess 99, 98, 99, fast forward 3 years later. I mean, we were practicing over at Mets, which was a little postage stamp of a field, 7 guys coming to training and whatnot, and then obviously Kirk came in a year or so after around there, and there we are 3 years later, making a run for it, which was just, and we stayed there for 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I guess eventually we decided to go up to D1, so
back from the abyss. Back from the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've talked about culture, we've talked about our donors and all the work and the new things happening out at the pitch. We have work parties every Sunday from 12 to 2, and then I'm sure alcohol is involved.
10 to 2.
10 to 2, and then I'm sure there's libations involved after that.
Yeah, sure. And there's a feed normally. I mean,
don't you have a TV out there now?
We've got 3 TVs now. There's one at the shop, and then there's 2 here now, and it's awesome. Plus Wi-Fi and whatnot. So we're watching football games out here all the time and whatnot. So it's nice.
Dude, that sounds amazing.
We sort of joke about it a little bit, and we're like, we're basically building ourselves a man cave here.
Nothing wrong with that. Some guys go to the golf course to get away from home and work. We go out to the big tent. It's great. Man, I had the opportunity after the 50th on Sunday to drive around with you and to look at some areas of the field and to hear your vision. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff we want to do. We want to fix parking. Eventually, we want to build a 3rd field. In the fantasy island category, eventually we want to, if we can, build a clubhouse. Maybe not a log cabin clubhouse, Chris Begay, but a clubhouse. Why don't you talk? I mean, let's not rest on our laurels for a minute. Why don't you talk a little bit about your vision for the future?
Yeah, well, as everything moves a little, I guess it's where the money is, right? And I guess the labor part of it. But, we've toyed with the field 3 aspect, and just 4 kicks. I believe Hansel and I measured it, and going east-west, no, sorry, north-south, we literally have the space back there to do 3 pitches from one place to the other. Now, obviously, we're not saying but we have the option if we did that. Obviously, we lose our parking, but understand that right now, I believe we only have this property is about 32 acres or so. I believe we have maybe 18 acres that are sort of cleared, so, there's a lot of room here and a lot of space.
If you bulldoze a little bit on the south, we can maybe add some parking there.
Correct. And then who knows what else we could get down closer to the creek, but it's the possibilities are endless out here. You've got a lot more land, a lot more property to develop and this and that, obviously we don't want to move too fast. I mean, even right now, managing just what we have open becomes a little taxing at times,
we're renting the fields and we're experimenting with a lot of things. So eventually field 3 is important.
It is, especially in this town now, I mean, there's just no more real estate, and it's not like they're building parks, so we have been renting the field. It's something we're like you said, experimenting, playing with, and it's done well this year. And, for us, still not in the groove of it. I mean, we're finding good tenants and we're skeptical about some other events and stuff like this. I mean, but we also have to build a lot within the culture of like, okay, who can handle, not the culture, the club of who can, we need more people to take on some of these roles and some of these jobs and whatnot. And, just, I believe today we're losing an opportunity just because we're not quite there yet to bring in this event in mid-February, because it's basically the same people doing,
right,
what we're already doing, and then we're adding this big event on top of it
mid-season.
So we have to be careful with how we move and plan things out and this and that. But the plan is to get to that stage and keep building and working to get to that, to where not just that, this place right here, right now, the big tent, we've already had 2 parties ask to rent it. There's a wedding that might be happening in November, and there's one of the players out here, their company's looking for an outdoor venue to have a party. And so, things like that will start happening, and as we move along and figure things out and this, so we believe it'll bring in some revenue.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. A tough question for you. In their prime, who hit harder, Hansel on the pitch or Monty in social media?
Well, I don't see how Hansel falls into the hitting category. If I'm going to answer that, I'm going to go with my boy Sean Rutledge. He cleaned up for me. Took care of me.
Who hit harder, Sean Rutledge on the field or Monty on social media?
Well, speaking of Monty on social media, I think lately you've taken over over Monty's place.
That's funny. Hansel keeps calling me a troll, and I don't really get it, but that's all right. I'm polite about it, but yeah, I probably do troll people.
So yeah, you're taking over Monty, but yeah.
Wow.
Both awesome fellas. And yourself, too, Bill.
they're both great fellas. Monty was out here with his girlfriend in Palm Springs a couple months ago, and we spent a few hours talking by the pool and took a couple of funny pictures. And
he came to teach
at the end of the day, we're teammates.
Yep.
At the end of the day, what we really are is teammates. And I really appreciate a lot of the things he did, man. He was fighting for the club just like you and I were in his own way.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed.
All right, man. Anything else you want to say to the guys? We about cover it?
We're good.
Well, I've really enjoyed getting to know you the last 5 or 6 years. One of the benefits of trying to do the old boy stuff and then being on the board is that I've gotten to know generations, all the generations of Huns along the way. I come to these reunions, it's like a wedding. I can't talk to everybody. Yeah. You know, it's like there's not enough time to sit and visit with everybody. And that's actually a good thing. I appreciate you, man. I see you, and I think you're doing an awful lot for the club, and everybody notices it.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Bill, and appreciate you doing this, and go Huns.
Well, this is good. This ends part 1 of this Oldcast. We're going to come back in a minute with Austin Shotgun Willie Willis. Until then, hang on. We'll be back in a second. And we're back. Joining us for the second part of the show today is the Huns Director of Rugby, Austin Willis. Shotgun Willie, how you doing?
Doing great, Bill. I love coming on the show, and glad I could be a part of it once again. So really excited.
Well, this is a great show. You know, part 1 was with Weezy and all the things he's doing as our Director of Field Maintenance and Development, all the projects, just all the success we've had out there, building the shed, the rugby, the big tent.
Right.
And that has been a great story. He's also a previous director of rugby. He's done everything pretty much in this club, captain, all kinds of stuff. So that was great. It's good to have you with us. I know you're working hard and got a lot of things going on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing these days as the director of rugby?
Yeah. Well, first, just got to give a shout out to Weezy whenever you can. He's like one of the loud guys in the club, but also like one of the most humble servants that we have within the club. So everything that he does on a daily basis for the club is so appreciated. And hopefully he feels that appreciation come his way. And I'm loving everything he's done. And the big tent has been awesome. And it's been a huge culture piece for us, which we've talked about. Yeah, as far as the director of rugby stuff, things are in full swing now with the season underway. Division 1 is looking really strong after a big win against Rugby HTX. We've got Grand Prairie this weekend. And then on the D2 is going to go to Fort Worth this weekend. And we're really, really wanting a strong performance out of those guys. D2 could really use a win, and we feel good about how they've been training. D3 had a match forfeited, looks like, by Grand Prairie. D3, which is the second in a row for them. With Hurt having pulled out. So really frustrated by that. But at the same time, like we're really understanding of like the struggle of trying to, keep numbers high throughout the year and when the weather gets tough. So, so that's been a challenge. We're wanting to keep those guys engaged. So D1, D2, D3 looking good. This last weekend, we watched the high school program take on Westlake, which was awesome. The coaching staff has done a tremendous job with the high school team in their second year. Mateo, Duncan Cooper, Scott Constable leading the whole show. And then they had added, obviously Longo has been a part of that group, and they added Des Alvey, who's been a starter for us on the D1 level, an older head Irishman who's just totally advanced the high school team at the line out. And they were just so impressive. All the D1 guys and D2 guys, D3 guys from the Huns men's club got around them last weekend. So it was a really special Saturday out there. Still going towards the high school recruitment. We're going out to 3 more schools here in February, March. And then, gearing up for sevens recruitment. So So the sevens recruitment is going to start off here soon, and we're going to have hoping to have a pretty good class and make another push at nationals. So a lot going on.
Well, Huns high school and junior high school rugby, just is, the sound of that is fantastic. And I didn't watch the live stream, but apparently you guys were doing a commentary, and the kids and their parents got to hear a commentary. That's just all very, very cool. And we don't talk about youth rugby enough. Not just with all the kids we're introducing to rugby and helping, but one of the things I love about it is the number of old boys out there every Saturday, and probably with junior high and high school rugby more than that, out there coaching. I mean, just sharing their love of rugby with kids. I think that's one of the best things about the Huns is what we do there. Um, you and I were talking before we started recording this that club rugby's kind of in a state of flux these days. I mean, numbers are still challenging. You mentioned the forfeits. We're having trouble candidly filling 3 full sides with 23 people on every side right now.
Yeah.
We're not the only one. I mean, the Reds and the Blacks seem to have full numbers for 3 sides plus, and that's awesome. I mean, I'm happy for them. But a lot of clubs are struggling. What do you think we need to do going forward for recruiting, for total numbers, and recruiting for D1 level competition to compete with the Blacks, the Reds, and Rugby HTX when they field their strongest team?
Yeah, I think the numbers part has been a challenge. We we set some benchmarks before the season as far as recruitment of we wanted 90 guys SIP before the 50th. We wanted to have 120 guys SIPed in total for by the season's kickoff. We got there, and we thought that was going to translate into having 3 available 69 guys to be able to travel on a weekend like that. It's a retention thing, Bill, I think is where we're at. We're getting a lot of guys out. We have a lot of new players. It's keeping guys coming out, training week in and week out, and staying engaged. And right now, because of the forfeits from Hurt and from now Grand Prairie, I'm starting to get a feeling that the newcomers are like, well, we're just training, but we're not getting actually any games. So that now falls back on me and falls back on our senior leaders to get a good pulse for the team and say, let's find some friendlies, find some matches for these guys so that they keep coming out and they keep playing games. So that's the challenge that's kind of put back on us, and we got to work on retaining the newcomers.
Well, and I know we're working on trying to create some friendlies, and stuff like that. And look, I totally understand. I mean, there's a reason that D1 club numbers, I'm talking about the number of clubs competing in D1, have dropped nationally over the last few years. And quite frankly, pro rugby has drawn some players away. And I'm talking about PR7s, I'm talking about MLR, I'm talking the MLR academies. Like, we were talking again a minute ago before the broadcast recording about how Rugby HTX inventories some of their players. So we may face a stronger roster with them in the next match because anybody that's not rostered for their preseason match that day is going to be able to drop down and play against us, which I don't have a problem with.
Yeah.
But if you're going to play D1 rugby, the amount of time for training, which includes like running, extra weightlifting, nutrition, sleep, not partying, all the kinds of things, is a hell of a commitment.
It is.
And it just seems like a lot of regular guys around the country are just saying, hey, let's be a D2 club. Now, we voted a while back to stay a D1 club, and I'm all for that. But how do we go about recruiting? Like, for example, props. We seem to be filthy with backs, but how do we go about recruiting, do you think, going forward, props, second rows, things like that, to kind of beef up that part of our D1 approach?
Yeah. So I would say, what we've sought out to do is trying to grow our relationships within the college programs, to try to create some of those pipelines to getting guys from the Texas area coming and staying and playing during the summer, or coming and playing for the Huns when their college season ends. And we got a good example of that this past weekend when UTSA and UT playing a pretty awesome game that went down to the wire at Huns Field, and then kind of myself and Austin Vanderberg going in and having a chat to both teams and trying to get those guys and let them know that we're here. You played on our field, like if you enjoyed it, we'd love to have you out, kind of thing, and talked about the summer sevens opportunities. Tight head, I mean, the props and locks, the tight five is, I mean, that's the challenge. Trying to get guys in those positions is a challenge for every club, from international to professional on down to youth. Like it's a challenge for every club. But we're looking through the recruiting ranks. We're looking across the country. Who do guys know? Who would be interested in moving to Austin? We can, we're always here to help guys get jobs. We have a really strong network within the Huns, and so leveraging that and trying to get interested parties. And then what we've always said this whole season is, look, everybody in the club is a recruiter. It's not just me. It's not just the team captain. It's every single guy is an ambassador of our club. And anytime you're at a gym, if you're at a bar, you're in a line at the grocery store, you're recruiting. So if you see a big fella, especially that might look like a type 5 player, we need to be getting in their ears. And then look, like our social team's been working their ass off, man. Like putting in a lot of hours to growing our social presence, and we've seen that pay off a little bit. And then, obviously coming up with the business cards and stuff like that to try to spread the word. So there's a lot of good stuff going on. I don't think that there's one answer how you grow recruitment, but we're trying a lot of different things.
I love you talking about a business card. I found in a drawer somewhere a business card I had for the Huns from 1976
There you
with
go.
my name on it. Bill Overton, treasurer. Yeah. And that really was cool. And I love seeing that. That's awesome. Let's talk about sevens a bit. One of the things the Huns have always specialized in and done well in, even before we really raised our game in 15s, is sevens. Last year we finished second in TOLA and barely missed out an at-large invitation. Flip told me there were 16 teams there that qualified or were invited. We were number 17. So we were close. A couple of years ago, we won the region and went up against heavyweights. I mean, year-round sevens academies, and finished fifth nationally, beating Life West in the final and some other great clubs along the way. New York Old Blue, right?
Yep.
The Ronins from out west. We had some great wins, and to me, that is, in my opinion, the greatest competitive moment in Huns history. At the high level. I mean, we've had great championship seasons along the way, and of course, we won a national championship. That was kind of a mercenary team when we won the national championship. That seven squad was not. It was regular guys playing out of their minds. You were on that team, so A, how do you feel about that experience now, a couple of years later, and B, what's sevens looking like for the coming summer?
Yeah, that season still, in some of those tournaments, is still one of the more special rugby moments. It is the most special rugby moment I've been a part of with the Huns, and like there's so many guys that are still here and playing for the Huns, Division 1 team, Division 2, that were a part of that team or were around that team. And the memories always pop back up. You remember when this happened? You remember when we went and did that last time?
And Huns legends, Adam Scheidler and Brian Wellborn, coaching you guys as well. I mean, amazing.
Yeah. So my roommate is actually Case Fleck, so we get to relive that, some of his special moments throughout that season, almost weekly. So look, sevens is something that we really pride ourselves on. I think some clubs maybe across the country either take their foot off the gas in seventh season. We certainly don't. It's been a really big recruiting tool for us. But it gives us a lot of pride. We have a really, really good backline, and we have for a few years now. And we have our college 7 scholarship, which just seems to always recruit a few different kinds of guys. Your studs that are going to play with us, and they may either go to the MLR. Your guys that are going to be studs for us, starters for us, and stay in Austin. Guys that studs for us that's come to Austin, go back to college, and then come back to Austin. And then, guys that are just huge club fits that are just awesome characters who stay in Austin. So it always feels like those guys are going to come down. They're going to experience an amazing club, like what an amazing club we are, and have a great time in a great city. And usually they stick around. So that's been the 7 scholarship's been huge. We're going to begin that process here very soon. And yeah, I'm pretty, without looking past this season, I've already heard guys talking some about, man, this 7s team could be good when you just look around our backs.
Well, Zinzan was a big signing for you recently, and I've written him a couple of years in a row, hey, come play 7s, don't forget about us, etc. Between Red and Zinzan, you might have a couple of pretty good coaches. And I know Red's dusting himself off and playing a little bit in 15s. He was exceptional in 7s. You had Red and Zinny to a 7s group. Holy macanoli, man. I mean, it could be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Zinny's been an awesome addition for us. And he's immediately assimilated to the club, returned and made it his own and made it special. Obviously added to the coaching, his play on the field. So he's been awesome. And I can't say enough. Like, yeah, I'll be begging for him to play 7s this summer. Pat as well, man. Like, so good to get him back playing. His knowledge has grown, and you can see his coaching come into his play. And yeah, we're just thrilled to have both those guys.
Dude, it's amazing. And I've really come around on 7s. 7s wasn't a big deal when I played. It was just starting. And there were 7s tournaments, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the huge deal it is now. And the joke when I played was 7s what backs do in the summer, right? And 7s has become a big deal. PR 7s, the HSBC 7s with the USA doing well, men and women. Obviously, we host Bloodfest, which is just an incredible rugby festival event. So I've really come around, and to see you guys, I mean, the passion and the defense that y'all played.
Yeah.
I mean, we really won a lot of those games with defense, and we were a hair away from beating the tournament champ. That was a borderline forward pass, not forward pass from Corey to Red at the end of the match. And, we almost won the group. So, I mean, we were right there. We had one bad match. We got a slow start on Sunday morning and completely came back from that. I mean, we were right there. And I was watching that remotely on vacation with my family, a family reunion with my wife's family. And I had to leave my brother-in-law's birthday party dinner midway. I said, I'm sorry, the Huns are on. I'll be back in 30 minutes. And they were like, okay, that's fine. We understand. It was great. And it's still great. In fact, if you want to see that championship match, folks, go to the Huns YouTube page. It's posted right there. What else do you have for the group? I think you're off to a great start. Give yourself 3 to 5 years to build what you want to do. And what else you have to say to the group?
No, I think, it's fun to look ahead. It's fun to look back on 7s, but like our sole focus right now is this 15 season and really trying to put in good results each week. We lost a narrow one to the Reds. Lost pretty big to the Blacks, got a win back on HTX, which is really strong. And now we just need to rattle off some more and continue to build this club all the way through, get wins from D1, D2, D3, get our D3 guys games. So we're all bought in and the group is growing. And I think we're a pretty focused squad right now.
By the way, the beating Rugby HTX is no small feat. I mean, they're basically an academy developmental side for a professional team. They talk about it was only their first game of the season. They had an entire fall season in that premiership thing. So those are heavily recruited guys that aspire to play in MLR. And, we have a few guys at that level, but we're not that. We're a bunch of regular guys playing rugby. And I really think it's amazing to beat them. And hats off to y'all. I think we're doing very well in a tough league. And the sky is the limit. There's nowhere to go but up.
Absolutely.
Look, I'm going to wind it up here just because this is going to end up being a long 2-part program. But very happy to see you again. You and I talk fairly often behind the scenes.
Yep.
Love your energy. Everybody seems to love your communication. I think, like I said a minute ago, I think you're off to a great start. You're going to have ups and downs this first year. Don't let it get you discouraged. Like I said, this is a 3 to 5 year gig. And the foundation we're building with club culture and the facilities, the field, and things like that, I think will pay dividends for us down the line.
I appreciate that, Bill, and I always appreciate our chats, and then having me on the show to share our conversations out to the group is pretty awesome. So thanks again.
It's all good, man. You're welcome. Thank you.